a few chances for some localized downpours around the southern part of the state. Meteorologist Sophia Bliss is tracking storms popping up out there. Sophia.
Absolutely. And we're going to get to the storms in just a second here. I just wanted to show visually kind of what we're looking at with the Boise River flow. So tomorrow it's going to be around 3,000 CFS. When we start to see the impacts to the Greenbelt, it's around 4,000. So we're going to finally move away from the territory where we see those impacts on the Greenbelt. I know the river has been running high for a very long time. So now we're moving away from that. However, we are still expecting storms in the area, so we could be adding some moisture to that. This is the view here in Boise. You can see the tops of the trees moving and the camera shaking a little bit. So in Boise, we have wind speeds around 23 miles an hour, and now it's getting a little bit higher towards Mountain Home at 22 miles an hour. Things still in the teens over in the Magic Valley, but I would expect that to change as we start to see this latest band of storms move their way into that area. And there's a couple things that I want to point out that are a little bit more urgent with these storms. So over near Richfield, there's lots of lightning with this storm in particular, and it's kind of been staying in the same area, following the same path these storms. So that's why there's a flash flood warning in place all the way until 7:45 tonight. Once those storms clear, I would expect that to be dropped pretty quickly, but you can see overall it's staying really active, especially over on top of the Owyhee Mountains. And that's also why there is a flash flood advisory in place, and that's until 7:30 tonight. As we shift again back to the eastern part of the state, there's also a wind advisory in place until 10 o'clock, and that's because we could see gusts of up to 45 miles an hour tomorrow. And what is fueling all of this is a cold front. So that cold front's going to continue to track east, and that's why we're going to see the breezy conditions tomorrow and for the potential for some of those higher wind gusts. So here's the cold front as it is expected to move through our area. You can see ushering lots of cooler air into the state, and you can see our high pressure center off to the east there. And as we go all the way into Thursday, we're going to continue to see cooler air. And one other thing that I want to point out is that this air is going to be coming almost directly from the north. And what's in the north, we still have those wildfires. And so that's why we're going to see the continued chance for some of that wildfire smoke to move into our area by about Wednesday, Thursday. However, that's entirely dependent on fire activity. So this is what we're expecting if the activity stays as it is now. However, that could change. And I mentioned the breezy conditions for tomorrow. So if you don't pay too much attention to the numbers, just pay attention to the colors. You can see it's going to be a little bit higher towards the eastern Magic Valley area. That's why that wind advisory is in place, and it's going to stay pretty breezy into Thursday as well, but that higher wind speeds are going to shift more to eastern Treasure Valley spots. But we're not expecting wind gusts too high, but you'll certainly notice it as you go throughout the day tomorrow and Thursday. So here's one model's prediction of how those storms are going to continue to work their way through. You can see in the overnight hours, we're going to expect those lighter showers to continue. I wouldn't rule out a couple rumbles of thunder and some isolated downpours, but I think it's going to taper off a little bit as we lose the energy and the heat of the day. But then look at this. Look at after that on Thursday, dry conditions in the afternoon, which we haven't seen in about a month now. So that's going to be a big change for us. And as we go into tomorrow, you'll notice that in the early morning hours, we still are hanging on to the Magic Valley thunderstorm chances, but then we shift our focus to the breezy conditions. And again, it's going to be some of that early morning storm chances for the mountain locations, and similarly over in the west central mountains as well. But as we go in valley locations, we have the chance of seeing some of those showers, but I think the thunderstorm activity and potential will be a little bit less. But we are expecting to cool down all the way into the 70s tomorrow. The expected high for Boise is 76 degrees, and you can see cooling down almost 10 degrees behind that cold front. So that's the power of that colder air. But a lot of those storm chances that we've been seeing, that's all changing tomorrow. So there's a lot more sunshine in your forecast. We start to see a little bit more of those shower chances as we go into the start of next week, but you could check out how much cooler it's going to be. So we're going to have a lot less potential for some of that energy that's been fueling those storms.